Hi, this is American jazz bassist Julian Vaughn, all the way from Kansas City, and you are watching me on Jazz Across the Pond with the Jazz Cat and Mr. G. I hope you enjoy.
Well, we have just been listening to the amazing track Sunset Station, and I'm trying to think of a word to describe it. And the only word I can think of is supreme, which ironically is the actual name of the album it comes from. It's the wonderful album Supreme. Do you like the connection with that? Pretty good, hey? Ladies and gentlemen, What can we say about this evening's, this guest, this wonderful super guest who's joined us on Jazz Across the Pond, Jazz Interviews Reimagined. A dynamic lead bass player from Kansas City. Our special guest on this week's show has made an international name for himself since 2010 as a contemporary smooth jazz bassist, and like so many other yet great jazz young artists, playing a mixture of fusion, R&B, soul and funk with undertones of gospel in some cases. Tonight's very special guest, ladies and gentlemen, a man on top of his game without shadow of doubt. Please join us as we welcome the man himself, Mr. Julian Vaughn. Hi there.
Hello, hello. Very happy to be here.
Well, we're very happy to have you with us. We got a great interview. We love that opening track. That was brilliant. And we're going to tease our guest, our followers. We're going to play two more as the interview goes on tonight. Anyway, Julian, if our researchers have done their homework correctly this week, you grew up in the church with your grandfather was a pastor until he turned over his reins to your father. Like other kids in the church, you began your musical career playing drums. Now that may surprise a few. However, you were once quoted as saying, trying to play the drums at church was like trying to play football without going after a fumble. Now, of course, in England, football, fumble, that means something different in England, fumble. But
right.
American football, we love our American football, so we know what a fumble is, don't we? We love all that.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
could you tell our followers more about your childhood in Kansas City, your church days, and your introduction into music?
Well, you know, church, growing up in church, you're pretty much at church every day, every single day of the week. It's like feel like we was at church. So, I mean, that's kind of all we were introduced to. So, you know, within the church, you have a lot of music. So that's where, and I knew at an early age I was musical. I mean, I didn't know that it would lead to where I am now, but I was always musical, I was always singing or humming songs as a child. And, you know, like I said, started out playing the drums because all the little guys want to play the drums, you know.
Right.
if you see a little kid, if you have like a little, let's say a 2, 3, 4-year-old little kid, and you take them into a music store and you got guitar, basses, keyboards, and then you got drums, he's going to be drawn to the drums because it's loud and it's a lot of boom, 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 boom. And that's where they're going to go to. So that's where we all went to. And then like the story says, I got tired of fighting over songs because only a certain amount of songs that's going to be sung or played within the service. So, and at that time, I'm like, you know what? I need to try something else out. Like, what can there's a guy over there. He has a bass guitar. Let me try that out. And it's like literally that's how I got introduced to that instrument, and the rest has been history after that. So,
well, that's what's amazing, Julian. I would say that it was probably your very first shrewd business decision.
It was.
Because you realized pretty early on that you weren't going to get too many rotations on drums. That wasn't guaranteed every Sunday, during service. And like you said, there was only one cat playing bass, so you decided to switch instruments. I mean, he was like every song every Sunday if he wanted to, because he was the only bass player. And so that began your love for the bass guitar. Now, at age 15, what I love about your story is at age 15, you're given a CD recorded by the talented multi-instrumentalist Najee, and you discovered the sound of contemporary jazz. At 17, you hear Wayman Tisdale's 1995 contemporary jazz project, Power Forward, which inspires you to truly dedicate yourself to playing bass guitar. Now, Julian, as far as I'm aware, and you can correct me, obviously, but I believe you've only dedicated 2 songs across all 6 of your current projects. The first was a song for Wayman on your 2010 project, the Purpose Project, and again with your 2015 project, Limitless, which was Wayman's Way, which featured another contemporary jazz artist who was close to Wayman, saxophonist Mr. Delron. So I'd like to ask you 2 questions. The first, if you would share a little insight with our viewers about your conversations with Darren regarding Wayman, and what was it about Damon and or his music that spoke so strongly to the both of you? Now, I'll let you answer that one, then I've got a little follow-up with it.
Well, actually, you know, like I said, the guy brought the Prior Force CD to class, and me not knowing, realizing we had a mutual friend, me and Wayman, we had a mutual friend, was a friend of my dad's. But I can't think of the guy's name right now. It just leaves my head. But he was from Tulsa, and Wayman was in Kansas City to do a concert, and he needed a haircut, and so the guy called me and my brother. He's like, "Hey, Wayman, we're coming in town. I'm coming with Wayman so I can hang out with you guys, but he needs a haircut." So we called our barber and we went over to Wayman's hotel room, and my barber cut his hair and he tipped him like $200. I'm like, maybe I'm in the wrong business. I need to let me put the guitar down. Let me be a barber. So he gave Wayman a haircut, and during that time, I'm over there playing he had a 6-string Fender at the time, and I'm over there just playing his Fender, and haircut got done, and, you know, we got to chat for about half hour, and I was playing basketball at that time, and you know, Wayman, he told me, "Man, if I'd known you was playing, I would have came 2 days earlier just to watch you play." I was like, "Oh, darn!" So, but
yeah, a lot of people don't realize you were like all state.
Yeah, and so we had my little brother was with us too, and we like didn't want to leave him out, so we tried to go to the concert, but you had to be 21 to get in. So,
right.
I mean, we were going to get in, but we couldn't get in because we couldn't leave my little brother. So we should have left him at home and went to the concert.
Well, let me ask you a quick follow-up then. So my second question is regarding that Najee project you heard at age 15. Now, I know your projects incorporate, as Roger said, elements of jazz, a little R&B, a little soul, a little touch of funk. So I'm wondering, I'm going to guess, just based on the way you sound, and I've known Najee a long time. He's a friend of mine on Facebook. By any chance, was it his 1993 project, Tokyo Blue? And the reason why I'm saying that before you say no, it's got a R&B slant in funk grooves, which might be, maybe that was what you heard. I don't know. What Najee CD was that?
So my dad had Tokyo Blue laying out on the counter, and I don't remember if it was a cassette or a CD. I want to say it was a CD. So that's up to that point, I've never heard instrumental music. It's always been church, R&B. I would hear R&B when I go to the barbershop.
Right.
But, church house, couldn't play a lot of that. But
right.
That's the first time I heard instrumental and everything. I was just like I was just hooked instantly. And so Cruise Control was one of the songs on it. I think that's track number 3. That was like one thing that like really got me, and I'm like, oh man, I'm hooked. But I got hooked first, and then I fell in love second. So I got hooked on Cruise Control, and then I fell in love when the song Tokyo Blue came on.
Right. Well, I will tell you that, and the other thing about that project too, and I don't know whether you realized it at the time, but Tokyo Blue also demonstrated Najee's versatility as a multi-instrumentalist, because he performed on alto and tenor saxophones in addition to his typical soprano, sax, and flute. So maybe that had an influence too, the fact that this man was a multi-instrumentalist as well. Well, I just wanted to, it was a guess.
Well,
those 2 songs, I mean, I've heard that record
hundreds of times.
Easily. So,
that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Back to the barber story. I think you're a cut above that now. But anyway, we'll move on.
All
right,
Roger.
I've got to come up with a pun. The puns are mine, all right then. So when you were 19, your grandfather then brought you a 6-string bass guitar. It was black with gold trim. You discovered the art of bass soloing, and you knew at that point it was more than just a hobby, and it was going to be a life passion. And apparently your friends used to say to you, said, look, just this is fabulous. Just keep playing it. They love listening to your wonderful bass line. So tell me a couple of things then. One, we want to know more about that introduction, when you got hold of that, from your grandfather, that lovely black bass guitar. And have you still got it?
I don't, and I'm like, because I didn't foresee I was going to be here, like doing this.
Right.
I would have kept it just for sentimental value. But he first got me a 5-string Ibanez. It was purple, purple with black trim. I remember it like it was yesterday. And that was my first brand new bass. And then, like I said, when I got to Wayman, when I met Wayman and I'm in his hotel room, I'm like, 6-string bass. Okay, I need a 6-string bass if I want to do this.
And he's 6'7".
Yeah, he's 6'7". And I have a picture on my social media with that night with it's me, my brother, and Wayman Tisdale. So Wayman had it. Obviously, that's how he did it, and I need it. So I asked my grandfather, could he get me? And he was, I was playing in church up to that point, about 3-4 years at that time, and I was playing for free. So I think I was due that bass.
Oh, you were doing the Lord's work. Come on, what do you mean you were doing it for free?
Right, but everybody else was getting paid.
Right.
Julian, before we play, we're going to break the interview now and just play another track of yours. Before we play, if it makes you feel any better, I was 12 years old and I became a DJ and I started entertaining. And my first turntable was an English turntable called the BSR, all right? And it's long gone now. And I have the same turntable. I wish I kept it because I wish I could show my children, this was the first turntable. I got photographs of it, but so listen, if there's anything I didn't get, man, I wish I had. Anyway.
Yeah, that's one of my big regrets.
Yeah.
Well, Lynn Rountree kind of told us the same story. He went into one of the rooms in the house that nobody went in but guests, and there was a coronet up on the hearth. I don't know whether he's ever told you the story or not, but his father said, "You don't go in that room. If I ever catch you in that room, you're gonna get in trouble. But the big thing is, you better not touch that coronet." Well, of course, what did Lynn do? He went in, picked it up, tried to blow a note, hurt himself, trying to hit a note. But he said that was the beginning for him. And so Roger did the same thing. He said, by any chance, do you still have that cornet? Lynn said, yes, I do. He says, and it's on the hearth.
Oh, wow.
It's up on the mantle. It's up on the mantle.
Yeah.
And I guess he's basically told, his little girl, don't touch it.
Yeah.
Right.
So there you go. Anyway, what we're going to do now, we're going to take a momentary break from this fabulous interview with the wonderful Julian Vaughn. We're going to play a track from his most recent album, and this is a stunning album. Your others are as well, but we are loving this one. And it's called Chapters of Love is the album. We're going to play a track called Sway, and we'll be straight back with the wonderful Julian Vaughn, Mr. G, myself, the Jazz Cat. We'll be back momentarily. Just sit back and listen to this fabulous track. Jazz Across the Pond, Jazz Interviews Reimagined. Back with you momentarily.
Welcome back to Jazz Across the Pond, Jazz Interviews Reimagined with the Jazz Cat and Mr. G. We've been listening to Sway from the outstanding 2021 project Chapters of Love by our guest, Mr. Julian Vaughn. Julian, you've had tremendous success with your first three projects, the Purpose Project in 2010, your 2012 project Breakthrough, and with Limitless from 2015. They charted extremely well, including multiple #1 hits on Billboard. Now, Roger and I love the amalgam of sound that you've created with, as we've already talked about, with touches of R&B, jazz, soul, and funk, which gives you a distinctive and successful voice in the contemporary jazz genre. If you would, share with our viewers how your appreciation of all types of music inspires your creative process, and who are you listening to over the weekend?
Literally all types. I could be driving, I could be working out, watching TV. It could be a soundtrack from a show. I mean, my creative juices are sparked by all genres. I mean, it can even be country music. Now, my fans and people out there would be surprised that the least music I listen to, the least is contemporary jazz. And so, I guess people automatically assume you play jazz, you listen to it. No, I don't listen to it hardly, probably maybe 5% of the 10% of the time at the most. Because I'm a songwriter, and I don't want to think have some kind of creativity going, and then all of a sudden it's something I heard from someone else last week and I didn't even remember it. So I try not to listen to it just because I don't take anybody's chord progressions, but it's attributed to my style even to this day. I like to get funky. I like to do a lot, but I kind of toned it down the past couple of years, and I like to groove. I like to groove, yes. And then when it's time to party, towards the end of my show, then I turn it up. But I like to take you on a little journey before I get to that part like that. But yeah, I love it. Yeah,
absolutely incredible. Well,
and who am I listening to?
Yeah.
R&B. That's what I'm listening to this weekend.
Yes.
The list. I have a playlist, and it's just too many artists to name on that list. But I listen to just variety of just a long playlist. Like after we're done here, I'm going to go and exercise, and I'm going to be listening to another long playlist about 2 hours. So yeah.
Well, it's like the wall of Ed up behind me. There's a selection of nearly everything behind here, so I'm with you.
That's it right there.
So in 2017, you released your fourth album titled Bonafide. Now,
yeah.
Julian, I'm going to say to you, I mean, I like wild colors. I like it. But, man, you look sharp in that suit. I'm telling you.
Man,
you must give me the name of your tailor, because that is really a bit sharp. That's amazing.
I got that. I still got that suit upstairs, actually.
There you go. I'm pleased you didn't wear it tonight, because you would have outdone me. So anyway,
yeah.
It's a great suit. So Bonafide, it ended up delivering 3 top 5 Billboard singles, including 18th and Vine, which was selected as the #7 single out of the top 50 songs of the 2018 Billboard. In 2019, you released Supreme. Now, we started the show with a track from the Supreme, and it was your 5th project, which was played one song on the Billboard's 2019 year-ending top 20 chart, and 2 songs in the 2020 charts. Your 6th project, Chapters of Love, we've heard one track, and we're going to finish off the show with another track from that album that was released, and it's actually crushing the charts. An amazing success. We congratulate for it. Absolutely fabulous. So, Julian, how do you feel the music industry has changed since your debut album to the Chapters of Love? How do you feel it's changed?
I feel like it's grown. I feel like the new, I call us new blood, even though we've been out for a decade now. Like myself, Adam Hawley, Marcus Anderson, Eric Darius, you got Jakeem Joyner, and a few more out there, like this new blood. I think that's where the growth and this new age sound has come, and you can only get this kind of sound from our group because we're younger than everybody. So yeah, it's changed, but it's changed as far as sound wise. But you know, you got your guys that have been out since the '90s, early '90s, that they're still considered the top dogs out here. So we are wanting that respect that the big guys got. So yeah, but it's I think growth is good. My only concern within this jazz genre is that that it doesn't die off, and that, you know, my age group, you know, I'm 41, but 30 to 45, trying to get that generation involved and hooked on this music like I got hooked on it. And so
Julian, see, but look at what's happened. I mean, you're right on the money. And that's one of the things that, you know, and I'll go ahead and say it, you know, there's one thing about the United States. We have so many exceptional genres of music that we've introduced to the world that it gives young guys like you an opportunity to sample things from a lot of different places. But you can sit back and think about it. I mean, look what's happened to jazz here in the United States. We've gone from, you know, the KC, you know, Kansas City sound. You've gone from hot jazz in New York to cool jazz, you know, in LA. And you've had funk, you've had funk jazz, you've had soul jazz, you've had neo soul jazz. That's the beautiful thing about it. And what you're doing is you have picked up along with Nicholas Cole and a lot of, you know, Lynn Rountree, a lot of the guys you're talking about. And I know who they are. They're all friends of mine on Facebook. But you guys have picked up the torch, and you're going to carry that torch and you're going to pass it on to the next generation. They'll continue to do, that's what's beautiful about jazz. They'll continue to do the same thing. They'll pull in from what's being played and create that amalgam we were talking about. Jazz evolves because of young people like you. So that's what it's about. It's going to evolve. It'll continue to evolve.
I hope so. I hope so,
I mean, I know when I first started getting in the 1980s and the jazz, I mean, you couldn't pick up an album unless there was Bob James, Grover Washington Jr., Steve Gadd on drums, and you had Eric Gale on guitar, and there was a host, and every album, they used to appear on each other's albums, and we used to sit there and go, what happens when they start getting older? But then the next wave of musicians started coming through. So there's always another wave of young musicians that respect their elders. Let's not get it wrong. They respect them on that. They then come and the way they come again, which is actually brilliant. Now, love that, and I think great answer. Kevin, question.
Yes, Julian, over the 11 years as a composing bassist, producer, and frontman, you've earned the respect of your peers and adulation from your fans around the world. Now, you've toured all over the United States, playing at some of our largest jazz festivals, and you performed abroad in the countries of Dubai, Kenya, Italy, Spain, and Germany, not the UK, and maybe we'll talk about that a little bit. But over the last 6 years, talking about your success, and I know you're not about charts and the numbers and all of that, but I'm going to say it. Over the last 6 years, you have captured 8 spots on Billboard's year-ending not smooth jazz, they call it that. I don't. The year-ending top 50 contemporary jazz song charts. No one has captured more spots on those charts than you have. And we know that Chapters of Love will add additional tracks on Billboard's 2021 year-ending chart as well, which I think that comes out next month. Now, that brings me to my question. You were recently quoted as saying, I want to be known as much as a great writer and producer, just as much as I am as an artist. Well, Roger and I feel that you are well on your way to earning that distinction. So my question to you is, how will your upcoming 7th project further drive home that point? We know you got one coming out, and we know you're working on it. How is that project going to drive home the point that you said you wanted to be just as recognized as, you know, a composer and a producer as you are as a performer?
If there's one project out of all the projects that I've put out and worked on that really, I mean, show me to a core, it's this project I'm working on right now.
Awesome.
From just the diversity of it, from having something to prove, because I am back to being independent,
right,
as an artist. Number 7, you know, we know number 7 has a lot of meaning to it, and I just feel like this is really a coming out party for me. And so, you know, my mission for this 7th record is to make it the best record I've ever written, produced, and put out. And so far, so good. I cannot wait for you guys to hear what I have in store. But this record is, I mean, we're talking about fusion, R&B, love songs, funk, horn section. I mean, I can't even put some of the stuff, some of these songs I can't even put into words, because they just come from anywhere.
Right.
I got a song that sounds like it's meditation, but it's not, but it is, but it's not. It's just weird. But it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's beautiful, man. And I'm just letting it all come. I'm not forcing it.
Yep.
And let me say this is, I know we put out records, and after a while people can think, oh, that's sounds like it's easy. No, this stuff is not easy to do. To do it at a certain level, it is
right.
not easy. And I take pride in my work, number one. So you guys are going to hear that in this next record.
Oh, well,
we're looking forward to it.
My taste buds are going already. I'm like, oh, I'm like, I want to be there. I want to hear it. I know that Kevin will be eager to play it on the Smooth Jazz train out of Richmond, Virginia. I'm going to be very, very keen to play it on Jazz Moods here in the United Kingdom.
Yep.
Oh boy, let's get hold of a copy of that. Now, ready for this? On your albums, your guest list of musicians reads like the who's who of the jazz world, including Ollie Silk, a former guest here on our show, the great Ollie Silk, Darren Rand, Donald Hayes, Nicholas Cole, Marcus Anderson, and Altha Rene. I've had the pleasure of interviewing her. She's beautiful, wonderful.
Yep.
Anthony Saunders, just to mention a few. We've already mentioned a few other ones there. So with such an incredible list of jazz great artists there, you write your own music. How do you convey to these artists, because they're all brilliant, all right, but how do you convey to them, you try to get your emotions out so they can play what's in your head, what your emotions are?
Yep. So I know before I get an artist or call an artist or think of artists, I already know their sound. Like you got, let's say, Marcus Anderson, as far as saxophone players, Marcus, Steve Cole, Darren, Elon Trotman, Donald Hayes, Eric Darius, Gerald Albright, people like that. So when I write a song, I already know he's going to be perfect on this, or he would be perfect on this, or Nicholas Cole on piano, or Ollie. I will already know what song best suits them for the song I just wrote. Because I study artists. I study their playing. Like somebody like Huge Groove. Huge Groove can hit 2 notes on the radio, and I already know who it is.
Yeah.
Same with Steve Cole. Boney James can hit 2 notes. I know it's Boney James. So just people like that. Just certain styles go with certain songs that I write. So that's how I pick who's going to play on what song. Yeah.
Kevin.
Well, I'd also like, since we're talking about people that have played on your projects, I'd also like to mention a couple of additional names that are close and dear to my heart that you've used as guest and featured artists on your projects, including LeBron on sax. We've already mentioned Lynn Rountree on trumpet, Adam Hawley on guitar. You've mentioned Elon Trotman on sax, and Mel Brown on bass.
Oh, yes. That's my man. That's one of my best friends. Yep.
Those guys are awesome. They're friends of mine, on Facebook. I play their music, and just I'm thrilled. But the other thing that I want to make certain that our viewers are aware of, and I'm excited about it, and I think Roger even mentioned it the other day. We want to let everybody know, Julian, that you've released an exceptional Christmas EP, The Gift of Christmas, which has 4 wonderfully arranged and reimagined Christmas carols, including "O Christmas Tree," "Silent Night," "Hark the Herald Angels Sing," and then this Christmas. It's great music to share this holiday, during the season as we celebrate the reason for the season. Now, I said I was going to ask you about your guitar. So we've been amazed at how, like a Stanley Clarke and a Brian Bromberg, you have stepped up front. You front your band now. You're a soloist. They play in support. You give everybody time to shine themselves. There's no doubt about that. But I'm curious, the bass guitar that you play when you perform and record, is that a carved piccolo bass? Are you playing a piccolo bass or is it a tenor bass?
Oh, I played that one time years ago. So what I play now is an MTD.
Wow.
Okay. And this was custom made. I am a Michael Tobias MTD artist, and this bass was custom made for me from front to back. Every inch, every spec was just like I wanted it. So, and I put piccolo strings on here. This is what gives me that distinctive sound, piccolo. But I get this.
But it's not tuned up an octave?
It's tuned just like a bass.
Okay, that's what I thought.
It
has that piccolo sound though. Okay.
Yep, it's actually tuned down. I get emails and messages, inboxes every week on how do I get my sound, what do I use? And you can still get a bass and put piccolo strings on it, but that doesn't mean you're going to sound like me. Like it's all about the way you play your approach and how you play it.
Right.
And so that's something I can't teach.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, it's a great sound. It's a great sound. It looks a little bit like, it could be a carving in terms of its shape. I wasn't certain. I knew that I was wondering if it was like a tenor bass guitar was more accurate than calling it a piccolo bass.
Yep. It's a piccolo. If you Google the top piccolo basses in the world, I think it's like 20 of us. And my name is in there with Stanley's and Wayman. So I'm very proud of that.
Yeah.
You should be. Absolutely. Well, it's a great sound. I was curious. I'm glad I asked the question.
It's a beautiful sound. There's one thing I'm going to pick up on. Now, we interviewed the wonderful Brian Bromberg a few months ago, fabulous, bass player and that. And of course, he formerly was a drummer with his brother. So he was a drummer, that's what he got into. In England, we've got Mark King of Level 42. He started as a drummer, and he's now such a great bass player, leads the band, all the rest of it. And it seems, along with yourself, and that it seems that, if you start in the drumming world, you're able to bring that art of that drumming with the rhythm into playing bass. Am I right in saying that?
Yep. Bass and drums are like husband and wife.
Right.
Like,
that's the rhythm section.
Like you can't have it. Like you can have a beat and people move, but as soon as that bass line comes in, they're dancing. So it's a perfect marriage. You can't have one without the other. So I think that's why a lot of bass players. Actually, there's a guy here that it's funny. He plays bass, but he went to school for drums. We were born on the same day. In the same hospital, rooms right next to each other. We play the same instrument, and he's played with me too. It's crazy. Yeah, so it's something about that bass and that drums that
Incredible. Well, there's a couple of names that Kevin mentioned, Adam Hawley and Lynn Roundtree. They are former guests on our show. So anybody watching this show going, what? I want to find about them. They're all those shows, the interviews, they're all there, all available. And time is not on our side. It's ticking away. And Kevin, have you got a last question at all?
No, just that Julian, I've admired your music from day one, brother. And I'm getting goosebumps right now thinking about that Project 7. Roger and I are hoping that maybe we can get you back on for another interview when that comes about. And Roger's got an FM. He's a DJ on an FM station in the UK. So maybe you can give him a little track or two, to promote it. So.
I'll be sending it to you, Roger. I'll be sending it to you in February.
Wow, excellent.
Yeah.
Well, I know.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, we went through the list of the countries that you've appeared in, and the UK seems to be very amiss from that list. So we've got to address that. We've got to get you to the
Yeah,
United
I don't know if the UK likes me. I don't know what's going on. I know you got the Peace Express up there that a lot of guys go up there and perform. I don't know how to get up. I don't know how to get in there, but we got to make that happen.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, Ollie Silk's there quite frequently, and I'm actually going to go and see in December at Acoustic Alchemy. We interviewed them a couple of weeks ago, and they've invited me.
Nice.
So we've got to get you there. Paul Brown, Chris Standring, they're all appearing now, and of course you've got Ronnie Scott in London as well, in Soho.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm not going to promise you anything, but maybe let's get this interview out there. We'll play a few tracks and that, and we'll get a few ears going. We need this guy. Over here. We need to get you over here.
Yeah, definitely. I'm game. I'm game.
We've been watching the most amazing man himself, Mr. Julian Vaughn, with his most amazing bass guitar there. We're going to finish the interview off with another track from the stunning, stunning album, Chapters of Love. And the track we're going to play is a track called Waiting for You. Well, we've been waiting to have you on our show, and it has been such a great pleasure to have you on our show with ourselves on that. It really has been. Julian, thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
No problem.
You're welcome.
Can't wait to hear the Christmas album and February. Boy, I'm going to be watching the poster carefully to see what it
Yeah. Oh, yes. Guaranteed number one. I promise you, guaranteed number one when it comes out.
Yes.
Excellent. And I'm going to have the first play in Europe of it.
Yes.
Excellent. Kevin, last thing from you.
Just goodbye, Roger. And Julian, thank you for joining us today, brother. We really appreciate it.
All right, man. Appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity.
For everybody here, take care. Jazz across the pond. Jazzy, if you from it. Everybody, good night.